All right, I tell you what, why don't you crow in here with me and get it out of your system?
Well, okay, it won't be quite the same, but... Yes! High five, Sammy! The pole monster! Give me a P! Give me an A! Give me U! Give me an L! B! A! U! Yeah! Pop! 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 Pop!
Through?
Think so, yeah.
Reminds me of that. That reminds me of that song, "Born to Be Alive." Do you remember that? It was like some disco song. Born, born, born to be alive.
No, I remember
No?
Born to Be Wild.
Remember Wild Hogs?
No.
You didn't see Wild Hogs with Tim Allen and Martin Lawrence and William H. Macy and
John Travolta.
No, I
John
didn't.
Travolta?
I did not see that.
And they piss off a biker gang. They're called the Del Fuegos, and they come and harass some small town and I don't even know, in the desert or something.
And Kyle Gass is in there for a second.
Kyle Gass is in there doing like covers or karaoke or something. He's singing that song. Don't you wish your girlfriend was a freak like me? Don't you?
It sounds like I remember it, but I never saw it. Like I can see the poster in my mind.
There's a part in there where like John Travolta. What does John Travolta do? Doesn't he blow up the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah, he blows up the bar, and his buddies don't know that he did that. And like it was like the rival biker gang or whatever. And he's like sitting there in the fucking diner, like antsy, like wanting to get the fuck out of there. And they're like, and Tim Allen's like, "What's your problem, man?" He goes, "Man, I just want to ride, you know, man, ride, Sally, ride." He's like, "What? What?"
What the hell?
You say we're live?
Been live.
Oh shit.
Oh,
All
Lord.
right. Oh lordy lordy. All right, episode 36 now. I think we're now a week or two in advance, somewhat. It's like Brian DiCamillo or Brandon DiCamillo in that CKY documentary, the black and white one, where it shows the early footage of him like dressed as a mad scientist in Bam's basement, and he drinks he drinks this like concoction that makes him think a week in advance. And he's like ready to run outside. He's like, "Wait, I'm forgetting something. Wait, no, I'm not, because I remember that I was forgetting it. Oh, never mind, because I remember that last week."
Oh, man. Sequel
So,
was
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, we or I guess it's not last week, it's a few days ago. But for everybody else, it'll be last week that we did the retrospective, and me and Paul got critical. After Fred left, we kind of just a switch turned, and we got mad, we got angry, and we criticized the new Deicide track, and the Cruel Force album, and the what was the other one? Gatsu Tatsu Katsu. Those are the three that we didn't like. So if you haven't heard that, I would suggest you listen to that. It's pretty fun. And we had to cut the Marduk part because Marduk copyrighted us. They gave us a strike.
Wow.
And Tenacious D.
Yeah, Tenacious D too.
That's rude.
Yeah, I was at work here today, and I got In and Out for me and my dad, and he looks at his burger. He goes, "Where's the beef?" and he's like, "Remember that commercial? Where's the beef?" He goes, "Burger King." I'm like, "No, it's Wendy's." He goes, "No, Burger King." He goes, "How much you want to bet?" $20. And he looks it up. He goes, "Oh, I would have sworn my life it was BurgerKing." It was Wendy's. Like, got $20. Where's the beef?
We got the meat.
Yeah, well, that's Arby's.
Yeah.
We got the meats.
Does your dad actually have like a really nasal voice like that, or?
Yeah, he sounds like, "Hey, what are you doing? Hey." He sounds like some kind of New Yorker. It's strange. I don't know why. He grew up in California,
Yeah,
but he does, doesn't he? Doesn't he kind of have like a New York, like an old school kind of guy vibe?
Hey, I'm walking in.
Hey, you know what we do here? We make money.
Yeah, he's a personification of Mr. Krabs.
I suppose he is like Mr. Krabs.
We should have him on as a guest.
Sounds like
No,
scorpions.
It sounds like scorpions.
He said that about Cranium. He's like, it sounds like scorpions, but angrier. I was thinking one day to get my dad to do like guest vocals, because when he walks by and I'm listening to death metal, he goes, oh. Yeah. Besides that, went to Anthony's birthday get together again, and again Robert wasn't there again for the second year in a row. I think he might have been in Vegas last year too. But Vince showed up. Paul didn't show up. He had to
Had to edit.
he had to edit the show. That's right.
Come on,
And he
Paul.
had to listen to the Terminus year-end Omega countdown thing.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
And that was pretty fun. We were both. I was listening to that while we were out.
Yeah, at
Like
the bar.
at the bar, at the bar, and Drew was like, "What the fuck are you listening to, man?" It's like the black metal guy talking about Merker, and how it's like a trap to hate Merker, because like that's what gets them popular.
Oh yeah.
The trap. But yeah, you know who was there, Paul? Savannah. You remember Savannah?
Yeah, that's all in the picture.
Yeah, she did the vocals for. We actually talked about this for the first time ever. The failed vocal tracks that she did for the Necrotic Mess album.
You talked to her about it?
We were talking about it, yeah. And she revealed that she was really embarrassed doing that. You remember how that was, how that kind of went.
Yeah, that's funny.
We basically we couldn't use her tracks. It just didn't work out.
And the
I
other
told
track
her, I was
was like barely usable.
That album is barely usable. It was produced just seriously. It's not good. If there's anything that I would be embarrassed about that we've written and recorded, it would be that album.
Yeah.
2018 album. It was supposed to be a banger. It was supposed to be like a profound album,
Yeah,
but
like the best
production
shit
on
we
it
ever
just-
came out with.
Yeah, the production on it is just awful.
Who's
like
on
produced
who's on the cover of that one?
My friend Chantel, who did vocals on some of those tracks, and she also did vocals on the Mist of Twilight EP.
Okay.
It was kind of like well, you're familiar with Zizma, like Good Enough, right, Fred?
Yeah, of course.
You remember the last album that they did, Girl on the Beach?
Oh, okay. Maybe not familiar with that era of Zizma.
Yeah, it's the final album they did in like '98, where they kind of went indie rock, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a girl on the beach. They had a girl next to a car in front of like some apartment, and kind of took that idea, since we were playing like a kind of death and roll style anyways, and we went out to the beach and we went on some big cliff, and I took that picture. It's kind of a nice photograph that I took. And I remember there was like a big rock farther down where we were, but there was like no way you can get down there. She's like, "Oh, I'll go down there. I'll just jump." I'm like, "You're not gonna jump. You're not." I'm like, "No, you're gonna break your fucking neck." And if Paul probably remembers this, when I took a bunch of pictures. I remember I was having her pose, and she kept putting her arms out like an angel or something, and I kept like calmly saying like, "Put your arms down. No, put your arms down." Put
Stop it.
your
Just
arms
stop it.
down. Yeah, put your
Stop
arms down. Yeah, listen. And I remember she did when she did her vocal tracks on the album. The guy who produced it, or she asked him, she did like 14 or 15 takes, and she's like, "Oh, does it usually take people this long to track?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah, that's funny.
Bark.
Yeah, that's the puppy.
Just cracked my neck real good.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. It's not working. It's no
You
good.
gotta like shake your head like back and forth like a dog.
It's how you throw
Really
your neck out.
aggressively. I know. I kind of did it in a weird position. Like I went back into the left, like Kramer when he got spit on by that baseball player. I think was it who? Not. I don't remember what baseball player it was. Do you remember that? I think it was the one who goes into Dinky Donuts on
It's
Seinfeld.
one magic loogie.
Yeah, the Magic Loogie with him and fucking Newman. I can't
There must
remember
have
his
been
name.
there must have been a second spitter.
Yeah, it was like some other baseball player, I think.
Yep.
I don't know baseball players. I'm not a sportsman. I'm not like
No.
that. I'm not like that city pop dude who had that sportsman song. I'll be a good sport. I'll be a sportsman. If anybody, I'm sure some city pop fan will know what that is. I forget his name too. But
Yeah, but I know nothing about sports.
no, me neither. That's why we do this, because we don't like sports.
Believe it or
Pretty
not,
much, yeah.
believe it or not, Lil Vince knows more sports than all three of us combined.
Oh, I believe it.
I guess that's not too surprising. I mean, it is, because Vince ain't like he never played sports. He never really talks about it, but I guess he went to the fucking Raider game, and he like always lets us know now that he's like, oh, what's the score? What's the score? What's the spread? Reminding me of my big fat friend Eddie in high school. He came to school one day after the football draft, I think, and he was asking everybody, like, who was walking into school, people he didn't know. He's like, "Hey, you watch the draft?" They're like, "No." He goes, "Fucking nerd." And he asked some girl, and she's like, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, there we go."
What the hell?
And I remember this dude Eddie. Well, he was a football player, big fat white guy, and at our old spot in high school, I remember he was always like getting hurt or some fucking, I don't know, he was always doing something wacky. I remember they took my friend's backpack and put it, there was like this little gate thing towards the front of the school where it was like the only time you would open that gate is to like change the fucking, read the meter or something like that. And they would throw people's backpacks in there, and you couldn't climb up and get it. You had to like kind of slowly inch the backpack up and over. And my friend got his backpack thrown in there, and he thought it was Eddie, and it was full of books, full of like textbooks. And he throws his backpack as hard as he can at this fat dude. I just remember that was pretty good. He hit him. It was funny. And the same guy, I remember he started doing this thing. They would always have like phrases. Like they had one that was like "pound me." They would say "pound me," but it was, and then that kind of devolved into.
What
And
the
then
hell?
I think that kind of devolved into. And so I remember Eddie would like, at one time in particular, he threw a bunch of Cheez-Its at the seagulls, and he goes, and the Cheez-Its are flying up to the seagulls. And I had this dude in my like remedial math class, and he's sitting there in his desk, and he's way too big for this desk, but he's sitting there just going, and the teacher was like this like kind of young woman, and she goes, "Eddie, can you please stop?" Eddie, stop making that noise. And I think he got up at the end of class because his belly was like so pressed up against the bottom of the desk that he got gum stuck to his t-shirt.
Oh, this is gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. I remember another time too. Him and another guy were like fucking wrestling or something, or like kind of like trying to take each other down, and he got Eddie down, and his weight just like totally buckled his knees, and he like slammed on his knees, and he got real mad. And I saw him later that day, and I was like, Eddie, what's up? You're not coming back? He goes, "Oh no, fuck those assholes. I'm not hanging out there anymore." Just dead serious.
He's back there the next day or what?
I'm sure. Yeah, we used to. I think we saw him after that, and he was doing like donuts on the fucking high school lawn in his like SUV or whatever.
On the lawn.
Yeah, us and Nathan too. We're like two cars, like I don't know, maybe 9 at night, just doing a bunch of donuts on the lawn. Simpler times.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Huh?
if you guys don't have any further to-dos, we can get into Fred's pick.
Yeah,
So please.
I'm okay with that. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man, rev us up. Give us the fucking lowdown.
The lowdown we have today: Ungodly Death, with the demo Lost Nations from 1992. I love Malaysia for black death metal sort of thing. It's
Should get a
I don't know
t-shirt that
why.
says, I heart Malaysia.
Like I brought Suffercation on here like a while ago, and now it's Ungodly
Terrific.
Death. Yeah, and you know what? I feel like there's probably gonna be another one eventually. So, but this is ranking near the top for me from Malaysia, along with Suffercation. So I'm bringing the best for you first. So one demo, that's all they did. I think they're active again, but they haven't put anything new out. So I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, I don't know. This demo, it just sounds old. It sounds musty. Uh, they get categorized as black death metal, but I think they lean more in the death metal area. I don't. I hear some black metal in there, but to me, it's always just been death metal. But I'm sure that'll be a point of discussion. But
So more death metal than black metal, you think?
you think so too?
Nah, I would say there's like I would actually say it's probably more black metal, I think. I mean, we'll get a refresher when we hear the first sample here, but as far as I can recall, I'm thinking more of a black metal band rather than a death metal band.
I mean, they do have a song called "Rotting Christ," and I don't know if
Yes, they
that
do.
is a coincidence or not, because this was 1992, and they
No,
formed.
well, I mean, Rotting Christ, they had a few things by 92, didn't they? They had that first like real that Satanus Tedium in 89.
Yeah, and
Yeah, but wasn't
Passage Arturo was
Passage to
92,
Arturo
91.
wasn't that like pretty well received already by the time that came out?
It was, but what I don't know is, did it make it to Malaysia? And
I think it
did
had to, because there are totally things here that are straight up Rotting Christ, and a song called Rotting Christ. I really don't think that's a coincidence. It has to be, because this whole thing is an interesting mix of like kind of melodic death metal and like basically occult shit. There's a lot of mixes of things, but I think
yeah?
occult Black Death is kind of what's just going on here straightforward.
Well, we can let people hear it and decide for themselves. What do you think?
Yeah, what
sure
song?
So the first song, I'm gonna do this. It's a long one.
I'm gonna do this.
So it's called "Beginning of the Ancient," and then in
You're
brackets,
doing it.
Antichrist. It's the first track on the demo, and it's about 9 minutes long. So
Shiminy Christmas.
All right, we'll be right back. back.
We are back. That sucked. No one's gonna.
Charisma.
No one's gonna disagree. It's just like, yeah, yeah.
No, there's some pretty interesting stuff there. Like I said to you guys, that very first riff that kind of keeps coming back in different variations. That reminded
Yeah.
me of Diamond Head, Lightning to the Nations, and this demo is called Lost Nations. And I don't know if that's maybe that's not a coincidence. I think not.
Yeah,
No, this.
It's
Go
like
ahead.
if you listen to a bunch of death metal, all the riffs are gonna sound death metal to you. Well, if you listen to a bunch of black metal before you listen to this, it's all gonna sound black metal. It's like depends on your palate at the time. I think it's just
Yeah.
hard to decipher what exactly they're doing because they sound like they're, like Dan was saying, like Swedish, like dark tranquility, like death metal, or even us saying that that shit sounds like just straight black metal.
There's
Yeah,
some interesting
it's
things.
kind of all over the place.
It is all over the place with influences. I mean, I straight up the only black metal that I hear here is like Rotting Christ and maybe some other occult bands like probably just Rotting Christ and like Verathron and I maybe Necromantia because they had like early demos at the time, and by this time I think Rotting Christ only had Passage to Arturo, but I believe at the time, like we were talking about, I believe that was pretty well well received
Distributed.
and also like spread out.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, and plus these guys do have a track called Rotting Christ, so maybe it's not too far off to say that.
No, Rotting Christ is pretty on the nose, and for it to be a coincidence would be would be impressive. But I like how throughout the 9 minutes, and like you said, the variation on that opening riff just keeps coming back, and to me, it doesn't sound like it's 9 minutes long. Like it flows really well, and it goes by quickly for me.
That motherfucker sounded 10 minutes
This
long,
is
bro.
sorry.
So that motherfucker sounded 10 minutes long. No, just kidding.
So you weren't not as much of a fan, I guess.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you set us up for a nice argument.
Yeah, argue with the guy. Tell him how you really feel.
Let the rage out.
All right. Well, yeah, that riff you guys were talking about where the drums kind of go. Oh yeah, that was another thing too. Maybe not in this song, but I also heard a lot of kind of crazed Cogumella sort of influence in this, and I don't think that's too far off either. It's got the same vibe as something that would come out of Brazil.
Yeah.
Something like
No, for
something
sure.
like Murder Rape or something like Aim and Corner, but it doesn't only stick to the like slow mid-pace occult stuff. It kind of speeds up and goes crazy for a bit, but when they do that, the riff is kind of yeah, like we said, it's like a melodic Black Death kind of riff that you would maybe find coming out of Sweden, like Lord Belial or early Dissection or like something from a Eucharist demo. But it's really interesting, kind of the way that melodic riffs work in a demo or album like this. I don't know if it's because of the production or the way it's executed with the drums, along with all the other types of riffs beside it. But it's got a really, really interesting atmosphere. You don't hear from sort of occult black metal bands. It's like a pretty death metal, but with a crazed background. It kind of, you don't really get that in a lot of places. The one instance I can think of where an ugly band does something pretty without it shifting and sounding strange, because I mean we can talk about like you can talk about like Carcass or Intestine Balism or who the fuck else would do something like that. I'm not sure, but when they do their pretty riff, it feels like a shift, and it's like, oh, this is the part that's nice. With this, you don't exactly know that it's nice. You have to really be kind of invested a bit. but the one thing that I thought of that kind of does this was a band called Bowel Crust, which is free romper prop, and
Oh, no
they
way.
yeah they have this like kind of ugly sort of death doomish song that's just kind of gross, and then you get this sort of like epic almost Viking metal riff within there, and I think the Viking metal thing and the melodic Black Death kind of somewhat blend together and like go hand in hand.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing to do, and I haven't really heard a lot of bands in this vein doing something that ugly and pretty at the same time. It's cool.
I loved your call out of the more cogumelo sound because I've always found that the Southeast Asian bands, especially some of the more, I guess, feral ones like a borer and ratter and
Yeah,
whatever. Oh, I've always found that they have a lot of similarities with the South American scene.
yeah, I think
Uh,
this definitely fits in with those two bands you just mentioned.
yeah,
Yeah, there is an interesting thing with that. It's almost like the if you would, I don't know if you would you call Brazil like a third world country, like a poorer country, or a country where it just seems like the metal that comes out of some of these places always seems to be the most extreme.
yeah.
And I remember there was kind of a trend going on where people were talking about things like that, where they were saying like, oh, the kind of the more corrupt and messed up the country is, the more um extreme and real the music is. I think people used to talk about genocide shrines in that regard, and like tetragrammaticide, and yeah, I guess the Southeast Asian bands kind of fall in that too, which
Hmm.
is cool. Yeah,
So the
maybe it is the poor of the country, or it's just cool. A third world country kind of. I think a big part of the appeal is like that they know what's up with a lot of this stuff, and that's just kind of cool in general.
Well, I was
And the
just
fact that they can make fucked up metal is cool.
yeah, I was like
yeah.
looking into that as well, but I guess they're like far from being third world, and I guess second world means like some in Americans calling like places I guess as a like communist state as second world. So there's like a weird in between of like exactly what these like more not first world places are.
So is Malaysia considered to be a
It's
second world country? Is that what you're talking about?
if it's I guess occupied by like communism, then it is.
I always just equated it with like just kind of a more poor country. I mean, you kind of get an idea in your head when you hear Brazil and you hear uh, like South American or certain Asian countries like the Philippines or things. You kind of have you kind of have an image in your head. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Brazil has
It's
like
like
a really
kids playing
famous
soccer in
giant
the dirt or
slum, right?
something.
Like they have a giant slum in the middle of Brazil in Rio de Janeiro, and I don't know if a lot of the bands ever came from that area, but that's kind of what I envision in my head when I think of these particular bands. Like, 'cause I don't necessarily think of Brazil as a third world country, but I do think there's some very, very poor areas.
Or like
And
like the the videos of like kids playing on like fucking jugs and like plastic shit as drum sets and shit.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
kind of what that's kind of
Buckets.
what I was
So
getting at. I said I picture like a kid playing soccer in the dirt. That's what I always fucking picture.
Some like choppy shit.
But that's the thing, though, right?
Hmm.
With the
Yeah,
sound that a lot of these
Chucky.
bands had, that was so like feral and so underproduced. Like I always just assumed they came from the really poor parts of town. I don't know, and that's kind of the
Yeah,
feeling I
you
get
you
for the
get
Malaysian and the Singaporean
yeah.
bands too.
Yeah, my
Yeah, you
man's
get
a
that
drummer.
vibe because of the way they're produced and the way that they play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drummer. I guess they're too poor for the double bass because you could tell there's parts where it could be a little bit it would be better suited for it instead of like the like this beat that's like do do got that do got that like you can use a double bass right there and it'll sound a little bit I don't know like more metal because that part kind of just stand out to me Like
No, just
yeah,
kidding.
stood out to me like
Sorry, being a grammar, you know.
no, I was looking
grammar
for
guy.
I was looking for the word, so thanks.
I know I couldn't say Southeast Asian for like a minute, so
Yeah, it stood out to me, and yeah, I think like even during like the fast parts, it makes it sound more like savage when it's just one kick drum that's going as fast as he can. Because there's a part where he's just doing like a thrash beat, and then he'll just like go at the hyper speed with
yeah,
the like a offbeat, and it just makes
yeah.
it sound
That's
more
where you
primitive.
get kind of the Brazilian or the the poorer part of town vibe to the
Yeah.
extremity.
And I
And
love
then
when they go back to a similar riff from the opening one, but it's different, and it almost sounds like they're playing it wrong.
yeah, it's
So
kinda
it's a
cool.
weird effect.
Yeah,
But
I always like that about the Brazilian bands too. You always get the sense like Holocausto was playing their stuff wrong, or they didn't exactly know.
Yeah.
They, you know.
like, guys, no, you're not. Oh, well, no, this works.
Yeah, this works. This works. Those drums are fine. That's you're not quite on tempo, but that'll work. You're going fast, and it sounds cool.
Now, this song, I was listening to this demo falling asleep, or when I fell asleep once, and it looped back to the beginning, and that's when I kind of woke up. And that opening riff, dun 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 dun, whatever, started playing as I'm like half awake, and I had these weird visions of like going up a really dark staircase made of stone, like I was in an old temple or something, and yeah, that's kind of stuck with me. So. Yeah, no, I'm weird. I'm aware of that, but that's what
That was
happened.
you doing some like Dungeons and Dragons LARPing in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it didn't go anywhere. It was just a staircase, but I mean, I really want to know what was at the top of that staircase.
Fall asleep listening to this again, and you'll find out. Or maybe you
I've
don't want
tried.
to
I've
find
tried.
out.
It hasn't worked.
I remember that reminds me of something. Fred, are you familiar with the Panthymonium album, the first one, going with the
Yeah.
clouds on it?
Yep.
I remember falling asleep to that album, and the outro woke me up and scared the shit out of me, because if you remember the outro of that album, the music stops, and Dan Swano is going echoes,
Oh man.
and at some point he's like it's like a bunch of layered whispers. It sounds like somebody's whispering in your ear. And I remember that gave me a mini heart attack. Sort of like when that one Louis episode that we talked about once, that scared the fuck out of me.
And then that's why you like ASMR now.
Yeah, I like the I like the ASMR questions where they're like, "Would you rather do this or do this? Yes or no?" I like the easy ones where it's like I can answer in my head and then just kind of fall asleep.
Let me do
Some
something
of that-
for let me do something for Vince real quick since you said that.
Would you rather?
Would you rather
Had to,
accidentally fuck your own ass
I had to
or
do
get your cock caught in a three-ring
Accidentally.
binder?
had to do the Danny Brown voice real quick.
Oh. Oh yeah, you got. I think he likes coke too.
Accidentally fuck your own ass. That's
Mm-hmm.
you know that band Accidental Suicide?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, we were talking about that.
it can't be accidental. It's supposed to be intentional.
You could accidentally kill yourself. I think the guy
Yeah,
from
but that's not suicide, right? Because suicide is like intentionally killing yourself.
It's a paradox.
I don't know. I mean, I think the guitar player from Boston, that happened to him. He got drunk and he was playing with his shotgun, like just sitting on the couch, and he accidentally blew his face off and died.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
then
but I
again,
mean, like
if you look it up, it says it's a suicide, but I've also heard it was like an accident. Or maybe it was
Right.
Chicago.
So
I think it was
they're-
actually Chicago.
well, that's the thing, right? You heard it was suicide,
City
and you also heard it
bands.
was an accident, but it wasn't an accidental suicide because that's contradictory.
Accidental suicide.
But
That
great band
almost
though.
sounds like a fucking Black Label Society song title.
Oh God, please
And
no.
the Suicide Messiah. What was that other Black Label song? Life, birth, dark, doom. The hole in the ground is coming round soon.
Oh yeah, and Zach Wild is in Pantera now, isn't he?
Is he?
He's doing.
I
Is
don't
he doing the
fucking
live?
know.
Is he doing the live shows?
Dude, I have no idea.
I
I think so. Yeah.
think so. I think Anthony went, and
You can't replace Dimebag, Zach Wade.
You know what though? It just gives me fuel to say, only the real Pantera lineup has Zach Wild in it, and let all the Pantera fanboys just rage over that.
I will cut
Pantera's not Pantera without Zach Wild.
Paul, I forgot to tell you when we were hanging out at Drew's like a week ago. He showed us this track that he made at Damien's. The track's called "Yeah, Oh Yeah," and it was his tribute to Zach Wild. And it's like, oh yeah, and it's just him doing that over and over again.
I thought he shared that to us because I remember hearing that too.
Oh, maybe he did, but he was showing us on
There
the
again.
computer. He wanted us to hear that. I didn't remember hearing it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That kind of reminded me that Cobra doesn't know the name of bands or people, so he calls Zach Wild Zach Wade. He goes, "Yeah, I fucking love Zach Wade, dude."
Zach Wade.
and then Joy Division, he's like, "Yeah, I love Joey Davidson, dude." And somebody made a shirt and sent it to him. It's like the Joy Division, the like tick marks or fucking like hills or whatever that's supposed to be. The classic Joy Division shirt says Joey Davidson.
One of the joys of listening to metal is discovering a band and then having no idea how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And even now, 20 years later, I'm finding out that bands I've listened to for that long, I'm pronouncing them wrong.
Yeah,
mostly the non-English ones.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, to get back to this though, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. We got to get.
Oh
back
right,
to
we're
this.
talking.
Okay.
Ungodly Death. Shall we
what's the
listen
next-
to another track?
Yeah. What's the next track we have here?
I think would be wrong not to play the track "Rotting Christ" because
We have to.
we're all curious about that.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, we're back.
That was
Like that
great.
extra.
Yeah, the rotting
Like that
Christ. Oh, the string at the end.
Yeah, the extra note at the end.
Yeah.
Bing.
Yeah,
That's like a two-door thing to do.
the rotting Christ song that sounded like sarcophago.
Sarcophago, yeah. I also heard like when Rotting Christ just switched to black metal on Satana Stadium, and they still had a lot of that grind influence in there. Uh, kind of sounded like that to me, and it wouldn't surprise me either because that was already a few years old by the time this demo came out. So for that to be an influence is totally possible, I think.
Yeah, when I talked to the band, they were no, I'm just kidding.
They agreed.
They're like, yeah, for sure. They do have their contact info in the booklet though, so I could ask them.
They speak English. All their lyrics are in English.
Anyone curious? It's ungodlydeath@gmail.com.
There you go.
All of all the people who listen here, email them now. Tell them to do a full length.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
back
I wonder-
together now.
If
I
we
wonder
get
what that
enough
would sound
support,
like.
if we can get enough support, we can bring them to Bunsen Burner Fest. It's actually going to be held at Fred's house.
Yeah.
In the basement.
Yeah, with the dogs.
I wonder what a full length would sound like. Like, did you guys ever hear the Ratter, full length Possessed?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad at all. I know you said you didn't like it as much as the demo for sure. I get that, but I thought it was pretty cool for what it was.
I think I would have liked it better if it came out under a different band's name because that demo had like so much expectations lumped upon it, right? I don't know. Oh, it was good.
Is that just because of the production though?
The production of the demo made it sound particularly chaotic, right? And when they re-recorded those tracks for the album, they didn't sound as chaotic or violent because of it, because they sounded cleaner. So, I mean, on one hand, it was nice to hear them produced properly, but they didn't have that same unhinged feeling to them. I don't know.
I feel like it did to an extent, but I feel like maybe the production just didn't do it justice. Yeah, it's hard to say because that thing is so poorly produced, but I think that's a big appeal for black metal people, anyways, right?
Yeah. Well, I was looking at Ungodly Death's YouTube channel, or one of the guys in the band, I guess, but they have some tracks from their 2000 something show. So I guess that would be the closest we'll get. I wonder what those will sound like compared to the demo.
And I wonder if we'll what are they just on that that DVD?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've
You're gonna
never
have to
seen
track
that
that
DVD.
down.
Oh man.
Do you have? You're a collector of CDs and stuff. Do you have any DVDs of bands?
Not many.
Which ones do you?
Really, I think I have a Marduk one, like Blood Puke Salvation. I think I have a Vader DVD. Honestly, if I come across a DVD for like super cheap event I'll probably pick it up, but I'm not gonna go out of my way for it.
I have a bootleg of the Blasphemy DVD. I forget what it's called. It's something funny though. I think it's the bootleg of from the Fuck Christ tour is what it is.
Oh yeah.
I have that, and then the Impetigo DVD set where it's old shows and new shows, and it's kind of just a bunch of their stuff. And I have both Dismember DVDs. I have those. And if you haven't seen the, I think it's 2003, the Dismember. Well, it comes with like documentaries and live stuff. But that 2003 Dismember live show, man, that had really fucking good quality.
See, well, now I'm gonna try and find a copy of that DVD. I imagine the band self-released it, so it must be only through that.
You can probably find a fucking Sartan VHS if you're lucky too.
VHS.
I think it was a VHS that they did.
Oh yeah.
But
I've
yeah,
only, all right, no, I'll be looking for this now. God damn it. Shit from Southeast Asia is the most pain in the ass shit to find. I swear to God.
You're gonna have to go to the Facebook store.
Yep. I mean, could email them.
shipping costs more than the product.
Oh God, that's everywhere these days, anyways. Like, unless I'm ordering from within Canada, the shipping's gonna be just as much as whatever the hell I'm ordering. Especially at the damned United States. God damn.
So Fred, you said we're not gonna listen to Morbid Theism, right?
I wasn't going to because it's really long, but I mean, it is one of my favorite tracks on the demo, so I could easily be persuaded otherwise.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that if we weren't, I wanted to bring up a few things from that track. But that's if we weren't gonna.
Let's do
listen
it.
to that
I like
track.
that one too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, we're back.
Brutality
That was
ensues.
morbid theism.
That
I don't
was
know. That track feels much more like a stream of consciousness than some of the other tracks on here.
that
Yeah,
one feels like the crystal ball from Candlemass. Down 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 boom down 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 down
yeah, they got
down
like a
down down.
within the band room a collective consciousness, and they're just like, oh, let's do this part. Let's do this part next.
Cool riffs. I mean, they kept bringing back that I called it the Prestige from Finland riff, or something that Death would play maybe on like Evil Dead, and then kind of in the same vein like Desecrator from the UK on that Subconscious Release album. They had a lot of thrash riffs that kind of did the humongous stop, the boom 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 boom.
Yeah,
Something
they
like
got
that.
like the very percussive and shit. Cause
Yeah,
even
well,
like
it's
during the like doom part in the like middle of the song, there was like, I don't know if it was like a rhythm guitar, if there how many guitars they have on here, but they just do like the two, like, it's not even a chug, it's just like playing the, like ringing out the note twice, and then they'll go boom 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 dun 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 boom boom down. You know?
Hmm.
yeah, and like I said, that same thrash part, or that could either be a thrash riff or that could be an epic like melodeath riff, and then when they bring it back, it's straight up like you said, an LLN black metal riff.
Dude, that black metal riff with like all those little tail end notes, like they're just like two, three little
Mm-hmm.
section. Yeah, so sick.
Yeah, it gives it a different atmosphere. Both times that comes back.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, because they're either doing like, you know, the fast, like super fast thrash beat over that, um, and then they'll do that for like the more Black Death sections, like the last riff on this song, and they're just like totally different colors that this track gets because of that, even though it's like pretty much using the same parts.
Yeah, it's interesting. They kind of did that in the first two songs that we listened to, where it brings back some of the coolest riffs and like morphs
Hmm.
them into even cooler parts, and just kind of builds on them.
Yeah, and they're just like kept adding little variations on it each time it came back to, you know, it's not like, oh, we're just playing the verse again. It's like they're actually, you know, trying to make it sound interesting along the way, because, you know, these songs are fucking 10 minutes long.
Yeah, but they at least keep it interesting. I mean, there, like we said, there's so much. There's definitely a lot of influence from a bunch of different places. Like I said, in the that intro riff is kind of like a Candlemass thing, or like a well, Crypt Sermon is kind of it's like a worship band, or like Solitude
It
is
really feels
Remiss.
like they just pull some of these riffs out of nowhere. Like
Yeah,
that
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 one came out of nowhere.
that weird riff in the middle that I said sounded like a weird Slayer riff. Like I
Yeah,
don't even know
yeah.
where that came from.
Yeah, I was thinking. I mean, it doesn't exist at this point, but I was thinking like that sounded like a one of the weird singles from Bill Skinner, where Bill Skinner actually sounded like a Greek black metal band, which they did
Yeah.
at points on some of their I forget the name of the EP. I think it's called like Wandering or something, and they actually have a cover of fucking Absurd on there.
Hmm.
It's two tracks. One track is the Absurd cover. The other track is something that sounds more Mediterranean, something like Zephyrus, or to not just keep comparing them to the same bands, but
Yeah.
the slow, um the like most atmospheric heavy metal black metal riffs, if that makes any sense.
Where they sound like they could be, like you said, Angel Witch and shit.
Oh yeah. There's like a ton of riffs in here that I don't want to say they're ripped off, but there's a lot of things that you get a sense of, oh, this sounds a lot like some of the classic heavy metal. Like in the second track, we talked about. I don't think we mentioned it live here, but we said it sounded like "For Whom the Bell Tolls."
Yeah.
So you get
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and you get like, oh, there's the Angel Witch part, there's the Diamond Head part. Uh, on that other track too, I didn't mention. It's like, oh, there's the maybe Anthrax or Sodom part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you're getting a lot of stuff like that. Even like Iron Angel, I kind of got a little bit. Um, and again with that like slow riff, it kind of reminded me of a Swedish band that had a demo in '89. I don't know if anybody even remembers. It was called the band was called Sorcerer. They were a doom metal band, and the lyrics were kind of funny. He says, "To Valhalla I ride, with my sword by my side."
Ooh, that rhymes.
Yes, it does rhyme, and that's kind of nice. There's like a nice
I
epic horse on it.
I do not know them.
Oh no, it's a cool. Well, if you like that kind of epic doom with clean singing, it's really cool.
Sorcerer from Sweden. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I will check. Oh my god, they have a pretty big discography.
they do, but for whatever reason, the only thing I ever listened to was that very first demo.
Huh?
I forget what it's called. What the hell is it called? Oh, I guess
Sorcerer.
it's just called Sorcerer. Yeah, there you go. Or maybe I was thinking of one of the songs. The song's called Anno 1503. That's what I was. I thought that was the name of the fucking demo.
Apparently, I was looking at the versions. It was reissued digitally under the name Anno 1503. So maybe that's it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. I knew there was something strange going on there.
Yeah, I will check that out. Huh? Cool.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I do like the melodic, chaotic parts of this. I feel like those parts are probably the part that makes this band stand out and have its own identity. Besides, kind of being all over the place. Because again, I really haven't heard stuff that would, it kind of almost doesn't make sense that something that sounds like Eucharist or Dark Tranquility being within a demo, like this, which is interesting. No,
Mm.
it's an original thought, which is cool.
Yeah, it's
No,
funny with a lot of like the riffs on here, just due to the production, you can hear like how like hard they're like, using the right hand on the strings and shit. Like, just a lot of like you can, I don't know, you can just hear it. I think more so than like the actual notes being played at some points when it's like the more like
Yeah, yeah,
longer intervaled riffs and shit.
Yeah, and you hear a bunch of extra notes being played sometimes.
Yeah,
Even with the drums, you hear the way the hi-hat's being played. It's
yeah,
like
that shit
there's
sounded
definitely some
plastic at the
struggle.
end.
There's definitely some struggle with some of it, but it's cool. I think being able to hear that a band is trying their hardest, like, because these guys were really young when they did it, and I think that always kind of helps with like the lore or the backing to
Yeah,
of who a
and
band is.
and the whole scene in there was young as well. Like I think they're around one of the first. What is like 87 or something? They formed.
87 they formed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just so cool. I always love the ambitiousness of young bands like that. For whatever reason now, this is kind of reminding me of like Tormentor, where Tormentor did a lot of a lot of trad metal stuff, but also a lot of chaotic stuff, and like understanding that it's important to have epic parts and like brutal parts at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, and plus those guys were really young too. It's just the ambitiousness of a lot of these guys who forged, and it's this comes out in a time where death metal is already established, but I do like the fact that they're kind of going outside of that and bringing more of a, I guess, black metal spirit. Because I mean, isn't that something that a lot of the Norwegian guys were thinking of when they were writing their stuff? Like Mayhem was kind of had the idea of dropping the modernity of what the death metal scene was doing and kind of going back to things that were still brutal but had the like heavy metal spirits, say like they like Volcano and they like Blasphemy and things like that. Because that
Yeah.
stuff is, that's more comparable to this, because this stuff is just so different from what you'd expect from death metal. And really, it's a Black Death band, but it hides that so much. Like there's barely anything in here that you could be like, oh, that's a death metal part. There's like chugging, and there's like some complicated riffs, but yeah, it has its own identity aside from that, which is kind of why we call it like a first wave and a half kind of black metal band.
And surprisingly, lots of melody in the whole thing too,
Yeah, it's
which
tons of melody.
brings back the Eucharist reference you were making too.
Yeah, well, even at the chaotic parts, like there's no parts here that are ugly. There really aren't any ugly parts. I think the entire thing is just one big just epic piece, really. If you
Yeah.
think about the doom and kind of the thrash that they're doing, nothing here is really like off-putting or disgusting. I mean, for a regular person listening to this, yeah, it would be.
The
But
vocals,
yeah, probably just the vocals. The vocals are the only thing that's
just like reverb to hell.
yeah. Well, again, that's probably doing the first wave thing again, because it's like, what do you think of when you think of goat metal and war metal? You think of very primitive versions of black metal.
But it's weird though, like the vocals, like I thought the whole time that they were doing like more of like a, like a black metal vocal with just a lot of reverb, but like on this
No.
last track, he's like, doing more growling and shit, but it still sounds the
It's
same.
more guttural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's well. I mean, think about the Greek stuff too. We talked about, like, most of the time you don't get bands that are doing the black metal shrieking. You're getting bands that are doing more of a death metal style. But
Yeah.
heavy metal and thrash, like classic stuff, a lot of basically stuff with melody and catchiness is all there, and that's like the main part where something like what would be coming out at this time, death metal wise, Cannibal Corpse, or I'm just talking about the main stuff, Cannibal Corpse, Malevolent Creation. They're not really worried about being catchy. They're worried about being brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where this band is focusing on making an atmosphere, and in order to create the atmosphere that they want, they you need the classic metal influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the long tracks let them do that too. Like they can write some interesting narratives and go back and redouble on what they wrote before and shake it up a bit, and it makes for like a much more, I used the term before, but a stream of consciousness, almost like they're just kind of jamming and just letting things flow out, and whatever comes out comes out. But it always stays thematic to what they start out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when riffs do seem random, somehow it still catches
fits
itself
in.
with.
Yeah.
It does fit in. It still
It
catches
works in the
itself
framework of the
within-
song that they've established.
Yeah.
Well, you can
Yeah,
even
even-
say like the
yeah.
first riff is like random, but then when they bring it back, you're like, oh hey, there's that riff again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things. That's what's interesting too. A lot of the parts do seem random, but coming back and building on, those first part of riffs, bringing it back in a different way, whether it's tremoloed or whether it's a different type of like palm muted chugging sequence. It all fits in really well, and I
Man.
think the fact that it's so melodic is really cool.
Big question: better than Suffercation?
It's different than Suffocation.
It's
Like,
very
this is-
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is black metal. Suffocation's not black metal whatsoever. Suffocation is, bringing the thrash thing and making it brutal. That's what death metal was in the early 90s. And this is not doing that at all. This is just this is taking heavy metal and making it atmospheric and evil. Suffocation and bands that would sound like that, Demented Ted, what have you, those are taking thrash and making it evil and brutal. Like, it's a different side of the coin. It's like death metal thrash. This band, who's supposed to be a black metal band, they're taking from heavy metal. So I think they're too different.
Yeah.
For me,
to
the two that I've obviously, the Suffocation album was Cryptic Existence, and this Ungodly Death Demo are probably my two favorite recordings from Malaysia. And although they sound very, very different musically, they have a very, very similar production that gives it a very musty, old, decrepit kind of atmosphere. And I really like that on both. But I think overall, this one uses that better to its advantage more. It creates more of a scenery with it, whereas the Suffercation one uses it for a brutal approach.
Yeah, because
So
both of
that's
them are
not to
like
say that I like one more than the other. I love them both, but I think this one is definitely more of an atmospheric piece compared to Suffercation.
yeah. I was gonna say they're both like atmospheric, but like I don't know. This one, like you said, creates a scene around you versus like just a feeling like Suffocation did.
Yeah,
Suffocation like
Just
gives
felt
you the
damp.
feeling of being like wrapped up in fucking slime.
yeah.
And while this kind of gives you a feeling of kind of wandering through a fucking crypt or something.
Yeah,
You know what? Here, this one makes you feel like you're wandering through a crypt, kicking up dust. Suffocation feels like you're covered in that dust.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. You know, the album or the name Suffocation, that's the way the album makes you feel like you're suffocating.
You're suffocating.
That's right. And this sure it feels ungodly. And I guess I feel the lost nation. Whatever the fuck that means.
you feel the scummy god.
I feel that. Let's the
Oh,
song
the
breathe.
oh, the scummy god.
But do you guys want to say any last words on this?
For the longest time. Whoa. If you said goodbye to me tonight. Oh,
You get copyright strike from
So
that was from Family Guy too. The remember the cavemen are singing?
so Paul, go first.
Don't ignore me. Like that big alien from Venture Brothers. Ignore me.
No, no, with like these, like I like what you're saying with like these like long songs and like how they can just,
Did you
know,
say
kind
long
of
schlongs?
long songs.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You, you hear what you want to hear.
Long schlong silver.
But yeah, with the long slongs,
Uh-huh.
they yeah, they're able to do like, pretty much whatever they want with like the as little or as much influence as they had. It does feel like a weird combination between like the two scenes going on at the time, which is like the Brazilian scene, which was like doing extreme metal through like a thrash lens, but like getting to like death metal, and like in the Greek scene where they're making extreme metal, like using heavy metal through a black metal lens. Like this seems like a perfect mix of that, and like you said, this being like a sounding like it would be like a primitive from a primitive country, makes it seem like a lot more savage, and like what they're doing. They don't have like the perfect clean mix, and they're messing up on notes and shit, and the vocals are reverb to hell, and I don't know, it just like swallows you in this whole like yeah, like atmosphere. But yeah, they can go from like doom to heavy metal to like a fucking literal Metallica riff on the second like you'll hear which one I'm talking about on the second track, if you were listening to this yourself. And
Echo.
yeah, and then they come out with like these epic, like not only melodic death metal riffs, but then also just black metal like LLN type of riffs and shit that, like Dan said, just gives this whole a whole other identity. And from coming out in '92 from Malaysia, it's impressive.
Impressive.
And I don't know, I think it is neck and neck with Suffocation for me so far with Malaysia.
Schlong and
Nice.
dong.
Nice. We'll have to dig into more Malaysia then. Maybe we'll do Senseless.
There's a lot of cool Malaysian stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff that I don't remember the name of, but stuff that I remember was cool. I'll have to just go digging through my, not through my butt, but through my liked videos on YouTube.
Digging through my butt.
All right, Denny, you're not shunned
What
anymore.
would what did you say?
So you're not shunned anymore.
Shunned? Oh right, I was being ignored. I forgot.
We got over it.
What would your modern metal fan say if they heard this album? Would they say this demo rips?
This
This-
is fucking
or they-
cool.
This smokes. They would say this smokes. This rips. This spanks your behind.
This fucks.
Yeah, this fucks. I actually kind of like that. This demo fucks. Fucks who? Doing your mom. Doing your mom. Sorry, that was Ray William Johnson with this "Doing Your Mom" classic. Yeah, dude. I really said I think everything I could about this demo. It's pretty, and like you said, Paul, it's impressive. As early as it was, and coming from the country that it was, pretty original stuff. And I like the fact that it is very. There's a lot of new wave British heavy metal, and there's also some Metallica, some Anthrax, but that was all like kind of a reaction to the stuff that was coming from Britain in the early 80s. And that's all part of kind of an extension of hard rock. So in a sense, this demo is pretty rock and roll forever. I'm gonna rock that guitar on your head till you're dead. Bow down, go down, go down. Cemetery. Yeah, dude. This album's sick, or this demo's sick. Feels like an album because it's long, and
Yeah.
got a great atmosphere, great heavy metal. I didn't mention this, but now that I'm thinking about it, I keep mentioning this band on the show. Kind of akin to Flames of Hell, reminds me a little bit of. It's definitely not as wacky or fast as Flames of Hell. Fire! And what was that? Evil!
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fire and steel.
I think they I think those guys recorded at the YMCA and then they got kicked out after the nuns or something they heard.
They spooked everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. They scared everybody. The Young Men's Christian whatever association. But yeah. Besides the heavy metal stuff, the fast, like Cogumella, or I honestly I don't think that the Swedish Black Death stuff is an influence here. I mean it could be, if Passage to Arturo made it here, which I pretty fucking sure it did, then I don't see why the Eucharist demo or the Dark Tranquility demos wouldn't have made it here, and where that would have kind of made a difference. And if it's not coming from there, then it's just kind of their own interpretation of what maybe Slayer or Sodom would do, while adding their own like epic sense of atmosphere to the tracks, while keeping the brutality there. And that's just a cool contrast to have that epic atmosphere while keeping it fast, and the evil heavy metal stuff, and the just epic feel that they have, because it's like black metal isn't really quite a thing at this. I mean it is, but again, like you said, Paul, it's really impressive that it's this early. It's cool.
Yeah.
I kind of rambled there, but whatever.
I wonder, like, I know we always bring up like the Greek scene and the Brazilian scene, like of like.
What other scenes are there? The Slovakian scene?
I was thinking like the Australian scene with like Slaughterlord and Sadistic Execution, with being like so like unhinged and shit. But I don't know if I necessarily get that vibe from from this.
No, I don't either. I don't get that vibe. You know, the chaotic parts here, they don't sound anything like that. You know, when we were talking about young bands, I was also thinking of Slaughter, and maybe Slaughter had something to do with this. But at some point, you know, Slaughter sounds ugly. Slaughter Lord sounds ugly. Um, this kind of doesn't, and yeah, it's got a totally different vibe than some of that death black thrash shit from Australia and you know, some of those other early bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Freddie, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is just representative of the one of the peaks of a scene I really love that I find really should get more attention. I mean, I brought Suffercation on. Now we have Ungodly Death. If I could pick the other Malaysian bands I really like Langsir, Senseless, and just keep bringing them on every week, then it'd probably get repetitive. But it's such a good scene, 80s and 90s for Malaysia, and this one was a pleasant surprise for me. I kind of blind ordered it because it was from 92 in Malaysia. I figured it has to be good, and it turns out it's cream of the crop for me. So the long songs are weird for 92. I don't think a lot of bands were writing material in this style that were that long in 92, and it works. It lets them paint these interesting pictures with their music, and it's just such a good demo. Definitely check it out.
Pretty sophisticated, actually.
Yeah, even by today's standards, I think like not a lot of bands like do something this intricate, and so
yeah, this band is very focused.
yeah, even if it's a little sloppy here and there, but that's fine. What they were going for, they achieved it.
Black metal bands out there, get focused.
Yeah, come on, get your shit together.